Hello, everyone. I hope that everybody is avoiding the storm. Seems to be done. Hopefully, everybody had a mellow day. Didn't have to go anywhere. Maybe you were lucky enough that somebody came and, dug you out of wherever you were. Probably wishful thinking, but we can try, right? So, by the time you're getting this video, with the announcement that it will be in, you'll have your grades for your article summary. I've finished those. So what I wanted to do was go over how you can view my comments on them, because I made a lot of comments right in the document that you submitted to Canvas. Excuse me. So what I use for that, what we have in Canvas, it's called Crocodoc, which, aside from being a pretty amusing name for me, is actually really helpful. So this kind of goes through how you access it. So once your grade is posted, and you go into grades like this is showing in the course navigation, click on grades, you'll see assignment details. So this is giving an example of one right here that you can click on. Now, there's two ways that I commented. So I commented right in your actual paper that you submitted, but I also commented in the rubric. So you should see a little bubble like this that will have my comments, and then you'll also be able to see the comments within the document. So be sure to look at both. So again, assignment details, click on the assignment. So for you, it'll say article summary. When you click on it, it should show up like this, and you'll see view feedback. When you click on that, it should look like this. So you'll see your paper with I have some comments on the side, I have some corrections right in the text itself. So you can see that, and apparently you can actually reply to some of the comments right in your paper. I don't know how that's going to work yet on my end. I don't know if I'll get a notification. So you can try it, and then if you reply to something with a question or a comment and you don't hear back from me, just shoot me an email and I'll go in and take a look, because again, I'm not sure exactly how it's going to work on that end. And then you can also, if you want to download it with my comments on it, you can download it as a PDF. The other thing, if for some reason this isn't working on your computer, so I'm going to give you the link to this, by the way. That'll be in the announcement. I'll give you the link to this. So it says, some browsers may not be compatible. If that's the case and you can't access it, let me know, because what I can do is I can download it as a PDF with the comments, and then I can email it to you. I really want everybody to go into their paper and look at the comments, because I spent a fair amount of time, actually a pretty good amount of time, commenting on everybody's paper. So even if you're super happy with the score, again, this was kind of a trial run. So there's a lot of comments that I made that I didn't necessarily take points off of, but stuff that will pop up in the future, not just in this class, but as you get further with research, little mistakes add up, and I'll get into that a little more in a minute here when I talk about kind of some of the common things that I saw. So actually, on that note, let's see, we'll go here. So this obviously is our course. Right now I'm in student view, you can see down here. So I just want to point out a couple quick things, not just for this assignment, but for every assignment. You look over in to do, since I'm on the trial or sample student, I've really been slacking. I haven't turned anything in. But anyways, so if you go into assignments and you click on any assignment, we'll use this one for an example. So when you go in here, this gives you the description of the assignment directly from the syllabus, And it also gives you the exact rubric that I use to grade your assignment. I just want to point that out to make sure that everybody knows how to double check exactly what is expected to be in your assignments. This lists it right out. And again, if there's ever any doubt, absolutely email me, and I can clear anything up. So I just wanted to point that out. I want to make sure that, I don't want anybody's grade to be affected because they weren't sure of what needed to be in the assignment. So just for future reference, you can always get all of the information you need just by going right into your assignments tab. So some of the common things I saw, I'm going to jump into, I'm actually going to pull up my research paper from when I went through the program, the MOT program. So I saw a few people kind of struggling with how to do in-text citations for a few different reasons. But one useful tip that I want to give everybody, is that you can do what we like to call bookending a paragraph. So if you've got a paragraph like what you see here, and you're pulling out a lot of information from this one source, you can do what we call bookending. So you see here, right at the beginning of my sentence, the study by Klatt et al., 2008. Then I go through all of my information, and then I have down here the parenthetical citation right at the end. That locks in, that tells the reader that everything in here is from that source. So that will be really useful for you, especially as we go further and you start working on your actual research paper, which really your research paper for this class, like I mentioned, is really just a lit review because you won't be actually conducting research. So I just wanted to point that out to everybody. There were a few people that within their papers I mentioned bookending. So this is what I was talking about. It's really simple and it's a really easy way. If you're like, geez, I feel like I stuck this citation in here randomly 3 or 4 times in this one paragraph, this is a good way to kind of clean it up a little. The other thing I wanted to run down to is to just go over actual formatting for references. Yes, this is actually how long, roughly, your research paper will be in the grad program. Don't get overwhelmed by it. It's broken down across 2 semesters, but this is why I'm emphasizing some of this stuff for you guys. Okay, here we go. So, references. So, I purposely changed my first reference here because one of the ways that you format your references is with a hanging indent, which, see, this reference here has the hanging indent. This first one does not. So a lot of people, I know when I started doing this, I didn't know how to do that. So I'll show you how to do that real quick in Word. So you can type it regularly and then just highlight all of it. Go up to here, right up in your home tab. I'm in Microsoft Word. I don't know how it works for other programs, but if you click on paragraph and you just go right to here where it says special, hit hanging, hit OK, and it's done. So nice and easy. Some of the other common things that I saw, make sure, so the title of your article, I'm going to get that out of there. So for the title of your article, only the first word of the article should be capitalized. The exception being, here I've got the colon, so obviously you capitalize after that. And you also capitalize if there's a proper noun in there. Like if it mentioned United States, obviously that's going to be capitalized as well. And that's also regular text. Your journal title is in italics, and that is just written exactly as the journal is written. So for here, I didn't have a DOI for this article, so I just have retrieved from, and that's the site right there. The other thing I wanted to mention that I saw in a few people's paper, and it's nothing to worry about at this point, but I saw a few people that did retrieved from, and then you linked to this incredibly long link that you got when you found the article in Hatch Library. And that can be okay, but what you really want to do is try to find a more direct link online. So a lot of times, say, well, we'll just use this one as an example. Say I found this in Hatch. Honestly, I can't remember where I found it. I could follow the link, but so if I found it in Hatch and I originally had retrieved from with the Hatch site, that would be a huge link. I then could go into Educational Science Theory and Practice. I could find their journal directly online and hope that they have a free link to their journal. If not, and this is probably how I found this link, I would then turn to Google Scholar and type in, I would just copy and paste the title of the article and see if I can get a free link that way. The reason we do that is because if somebody is reading this article that doesn't have access to Hatch Library, which basically is going to be anyone that isn't a student or faculty member at Bay Path. So if they don't have access to Hatch, they're not going to be able to follow that link because they won't be able to get into Hatch. That's why we always look for the most direct link that we can find. Obviously, down here, if your journal article has a DOI, you put that in. Trying to think if there was anything else I wanted to mention about that. I don't think so. So the reason that I mention, and you'll see in your articles that you submitted, your article summaries, you'll see that I made comments in your references if there were little mistakes. And believe me, I know they sound like very little mistakes, and they are. It's all about APA formatting. Believe me, it's not my choice. But APA is very strict, and the reason I point out these little mistakes is because when you're talking about a research paper that you're going to make when you're in the MOT program, when you have, God, I think 20 some odd references here, and you're being graded on it, if you make one little mistake, like if you capitalize every word in the article title, or forget to do italics in your journal title, it's 1 point off for each of those, and then multiplied by 15 or 20 throughout your whole reference page. So it adds up quick, and it's a terrible, annoying way to lose points. So I want to save you guys from that. So just, be sure to follow the formatting. I believe I gave good page numbers and links in the APA Style Central that goes through a lot of this. So as far as your APA manual, for in-text citations, page 177 has a pretty good table of how to do your in-text citations. One of the things that I saw on that, let me scoot back up a little ways here. I'll just go back to that first page that I was on. So right here, I'm starting with Klatt et al. So obviously you can see up here I was referencing him in the first paragraph. I'm not going to go back and find where I first referenced, but the thing with in-text citations is that the first time you reference an article, you list all of the authors by last name. So if this was my first in-text citation, it would be Klatt, comma, followed by, every other author's last name, and then the 2008. Every other one after that can be just like this. It can be either the straightforward in-text like that, or the parenthetical like we see down here. But your first one has to list all of the authors and the year of publication. The other thing I saw a lot of was direct quotes, which can be fine. The thing that you have to remember with direct quotes is that if you do a direct quote, your citation has to include a page number. Now, in general, for scientific writing, we actually want to stay away from direct quotes as much as possible, and use them pretty sparingly. The other thing I saw here and there was people using secondary sources. So, say I was using this article by Klatt, and within it, he was talking about a few other articles published by other authors. So if you reference those authors, that's called a secondary source, and there's very specific ways to format that, and it gets kind of muddy. I don't want to go into it too much right now, but just know that it is in your APA manual. And in general, what you really want to do with that is actually track down the article from those authors within this original article. Find that article that this author is referencing and then use it separately. And that's actually going to be a good tool for you to use once we get further into research. You're going to find a gem of an article. You're going to find one article that really sums up everything you want to look into with your research paper, and they're going to be referencing all kinds of other articles that they used when they were doing their research. So then you go right into their reference list and start searching for their articles. That's getting a bit ahead of ourselves, but I just wanted to mention it. Okay. So other than that, I mean, overall, I think the assignment went well. Like I said, please do go into Crocodoc, like I mentioned, and look at the comments that I left. I think that's all I've got for you for now. Oh, the debunking assignment. So we'll go into that real quick. So again, you can pull it up. Oh, see, so I guess I fibbed. In this one, this doesn't have the full description of the assignment. So we'll pull that up right here. Hopefully you've already been looking at this. It's due actually a week from today, I believe. So I hope everybody had a chance to look at the example that I made. Again, it's not perfect. It's not, don't set that as you have to do it exactly that way. I think you should definitely kind of play around a little bit. So really, again, you're finding a source of faulty information through social media, through an internet search, however you find it, and creating basically a rebuttal to it. And this, by the way, doesn't have to be related to healthcare. If you want to make it political, without getting into a lot of things, we're living in the age of quote unquote alternative facts right now, and actually there's a really good article that I'm going to include. I think I'll actually put it maybe I'll include it in this announcement and then link it again for next week's module. But there's a really good article that talks about the kind of dangers of following tweets and everything on social media without checking their information. And that's really kind of the gist of what I'm driving at with this assignment. So actually, you know what we can do real quick? Get out of all of this. If you haven't played around with Adobe Spark yet, I'll give you kind of a quick rundown. Let's see. Okay, we're back. I got my login figured out. Sorry for the little glitch there. So once you log in and you've started working on a project, so I created mine using the video. So I'll just show you kind of how you can play around with that. Adobe is very inspirational, apparently. So I'm going to get rid of that. So one of the great things is that you can totally just drag and drop your slides if you want to rearrange order. You also have all kinds of different ways. Obviously, I use Chalk for mine, but there's all kinds of different formats you can use for how your video looks. Music up here. Layout. You can change that, so you could do, I like how they call it thing and a caption. So you could do, you know, an image above with a caption below, 2 images side by side. I just did the simple full screen. So music, themes. You can change how long each slide shows. So I went with 6 seconds for this. I think on a couple of them I actually went longer. Yeah, see, this one I left on a little longer. This one was 6. And some of them were a little shorter. So, and then if you want to add a slide, just hit the add right over there. Once you hit share, this is what I did. Instead of making this public, because I wasn't honestly really sure what that would do, I just downloaded it right to my computer. And then obviously I also then uploaded it to YouTube so that you guys could see it. So there are also, you can do posts and pages. I haven't played around with those a ton, but just different ways of, you know, using your information and how you want to present it. So that's a quick, very basic overview of Adobe Spark. I really liked using the video. I think all of their stuff is really intuitive. I know Sarah Hartford, who teaches the on-campus version of this class, has been using Adobe quite a bit actually for her presentations. So a lot of stuff you can do with it. And then the other one I think I showed you guys was this one. So yeah, we'll leave the not safe for work alone. But this just kind of gives you a lot of different platforms that you can use. And, you know, you can go in here and whatever image it is, you can kind of add your own text and play around with that. I haven't used it a ton, but another source. And you guys might even know better options for this kind of stuff than I do. So feel free to absolutely, you know, run away with this, make it your own. Hopefully everybody's got a good jump start on it. The other thing that I think I'll do with this, I think I don't have a week 4 discussion for you guys yet. So I think what I'll actually do is make the week 4 discussion about the debunking assignment. So I'll have you guys actually share whatever media you come up with into the discussion. That way, because this is all about spreading information and kind of, you know, debunking and refuting false information that's out there. So in that spirit, I think we should kind of share it with each other. And this will be probably the one discussion I would say that I might add in a requirement within the discussion that you do reply to a classmate's posting, which actually you guys did a great job on with the last one. So keep that up. I think that's all I've got for you for now. So hopefully this didn't drag on too long. If you have any questions at all about your article summaries, definitely email me and I'll get back to you. And like I said, absolutely look at the comments I made, both in the rubric and in the actual document itself, because I think it'll be really helpful moving forward. Okay, I think that's it. So everybody take care. Be safe driving. I think we got some more stuff coming. So maybe you guys will get another snow day. You can relax and get some work done. All right, take care.